Yemen is set to hold the 60th anniversary of the 26th September revolution across the country. The United Nations, the US, and the Arab world doubled the efforts to expand the truce in Yemen. Experts say that a new Iran nuclear deal can empower the Houthi militia. Welcome to Yemen Today TV. This is the English news with me, Rushan Fuad. Yemenis are set to celebrate the 60th anniversary of the 26th September revolution. Such celebrations come amid the Houthi coup, which has plagued the country since 2014. The resistance of the masses to hail the anniversary of the revolution reflects a collective will to regain the republic, institutions, and democracy from the hands of the rebels. This report gives more details.
Everyone in Yemen welcomes the 60th anniversary of the 26th of September revolution. Flags fluttering everywhere on the rooftops of homes, private and government facilities, and traffic vehicles. Others decorates the city streets and roads, while giant banners and paintings decorate the streets, putting it in the phrases of the late September revolution and the importance of preserving its gains in which the people lived, the chapters of freedom and liberation from the underdevelopment.
The Yemeni revolution makes us proud, and because of this revolution we came to Maghrib and joined the National Army.
This festive atmosphere was not just a passing memory for the Yemenis, but rather a joy mixed with sacrifices and a struggle that lasted for more than 8 years, during which the people waged a new battle with the Imamis. In this battle, the Yemenis learned the size of the sacrifices made by the free people in the year 1962, and they renewed the same agreement by continuing the revolution.
We are celebrating the 26th September revolution, which happened to end the Imami coup that made Yemenis suffer for so long and disconnected them from the rest of the world. This revolution gave freedom to the Yemeni people, and the Yemeni army is always going to fight for freedom of Yemenis.
Yemenis' dreams will not be dissipated, and their lives will not be a subject of injustice again. The people of Yemen have a patriotic spirit that loves freedom and dignity. Even when the Houthis continue to violate them, Yemenis will always fight for their rights and have a courageous spirit.
The United Nations, the US, and entire Arab world are intensifying diplomatic efforts in order to expand the truce in Yemen. Diplomats from those countries gathered on the sideline of the United Nations General Assembly to push for the expansion of the truce, as it is set to end on the 2nd of October. This report has more details.
The permanent members of the United Nations Security Council and the international community called on the Yemeni parties to urgently intensify the negotiations under the auspices of the UN in order to agree on an expanded truce that could be translated into a durable ceasefire. Deputy ministers and senior official representatives of the permanent 5 members of the Security Council, as well as the European Union, Germany, Kuwait, and Sweden, met on the sidelines of the 77th UN General Assembly in New York. They discussed concrete steps to support an extension of the truce agreed upon by the Yemeni parties until October 2 and the start of a political process to end the conflict in Yemen. The group issued a joint statement reiterating their firm support for the UN Special Envoy and his ongoing efforts for a longer extension and expansion of the current truce. The permanent 5 members of the UN Security Council expressed their determination that an expanded truce agreement will provide an opportunity to reach an inclusive, comprehensive, negotiated political settlement based on the agreed references and under the auspices of the UN. They recalled the importance of the full, equal, and meaningful participation of women in the peace process, including a minimum of 30% participation by women. They further underscored the tangible benefits of the truce to the Yemeni people, including a 60% reduction in civilian casualties from frontline violence, 4 times the amount of fuel imported through Hodeidah port compared with last year, and commercial flights from Sana'a, allowing over 21,000 passengers to receive medical treatment abroad and to unite with families.
The World Food Programme has reported that a shipment of wheat will arrive Yemen by next month. World Food Programme country director said that this shipment of wheat would provide over a third of World Food Programme's monthly distribution as part of the humanitarian response to alleviate Yemen's food crisis. He pointed out that high operating costs have forced the program to prioritize it, as more than 13 million Yemenis face emergencies and are above hunger levels. The Secretary General of the Norwegian Refugee Council said the situation didn't get better in Congo or in Yemen. The Norwegian diplomat added that they need to fight for those who are starving in the shadows of this horrific war in Ukraine and in Yemen. An American institution has warned of Iran funds and arms to the Houthis. The U.S. Foundation for Defense of Democracies said Iran would receive about $275 billion in transactions relief within the first year of any potential nuclear deal. A large portion of this money will flow into Iran's network of client terrorist groups, including the Houthis in Yemen. Some political observers say that signing a nuclear deal with Iran would lift the sanctions of Tehran. This would make the Iranian arms flow into the hands of their proxies in Yemen and Lebanon. This report gives more details.
Following the first 2015 nuclear agreement's implementation, Tehran's military budget surged by 90%, allowing the regime to deliver extra weaponry and funds to its regional proxies, notably the Houthis in Yemen. If Tehran obtains a large monetary injection as part of a new nuclear agreement, the world should anticipate additional weapons to be transferred from Iran to the Houthis, culminating in increased bloodshed and humanitarian misery in Yemen. Iran employs terrorist proxies to destabilize, govern, and assault regional governments. It aims to pursue its radical goals systematically through proxies while avoiding direct repercussions. Support for the Houthis in Yemen is part of a long-standing policy that has yielded considerable advantages for the government in exchange for very little investments. By supporting, supplying, and training the Houthis, Tehran empowers a force it can control or at least influence, facilitates attacks on Saudi Arabia and the UAE, and develops strategic depth along one of the world's most significant economic and military maritime lanes, the Red Sea. The Houthis are able to launch missile and drone assaults on Saudi Arabia and, to a lesser extent, the United Arab Emirates, thanks to Iran's significant military backing. Between 2015 and 2021, the Houthis have reportedly fired 430 missile and 851 drones from Yemen against Saudi Arabia. In addition to strikes outside Yemen's borders, the Houthis have devastated Yemen, contributing to one of the world's greatest humanitarian crises. To dissuade coalition strikes, the Houthis withhold supplies from people, torture their opponents, raid refugee camps, recruit juvenile fighters, and deploy human shields. Despite the Houthis continuing to earn their foreign terrorist organization classification and doing nothing to merit a change in U.S. policy, the Biden administration withdrew the designation in February 2021. Additional Iranian help might allow the Houthis to rearm and violate the ceasefire once their troops have been rebuilt. This would exacerbate Yemen's humanitarian situation.
The Human Rights Council held its session in Geneva, in which 10,033 Houthi violations have been recorded. Houthi violations included abduction and forcibly disappearance during the period from January 1, 2019 until March 1, 2022. The Council discussed different forms of physical and psychological torture committed by the Houthis and confirmed that such acts are flagrant violations into the international human law. A young man was injured by the explosion of a Houthi landmine in Al Bayda Governorate. Local sources said that the young man was wounded by the explosion of a landmine planted by the militia near Jumaida Mountain in Haifa. The sources pointed out that the citizen suffered severe injuries in different parts of his body. The Houthi militia has seized one of the most prominent major mosques in the central Ib. Local residents said that the rebel militia had seized a Rawda mosque after wide-ranging operations of the militia's restrictions on people in charge of the mosque. According to the residents, the militia seized the mosque and a Quran school by force. Coming next. In Lash Kuwaiti Fund supports big water project with solar energy.
طبعا مدينة تعز تعاني من أزمة مياه، وخاصة في ظل الحرب هذه الفترة هذه.
ما كان يوصل لنا الدبار 20 لتر بصعوبة، نروح نعبي الدباب مشاكل وصياح، نروح وقحنا ضابحين معقدين، نصل وقحنا يعني ما نشتيش الماء، كرهنا الحياة. وهي 7 أطفال معي، كيف تكفيهم الدباب؟ أرجع عند الثانية أجيب قيس اللي يقولوا ولا يستخدموني.
Welcome back. The 8-year war has brought about massive damage to educational institutions in Yemen. Thousands of children are out of schools because their schools have been destroyed during the war. Such a bitter reality has cast shadow on the entire teaching and learning process in the country. This report has more details.
Yemen's crisis has halted years of educational development for students. More than 3.7 million students are reported to be absent or at risk of dropping out of school. Only 2/3 of schools are operational, with the others destroyed, damaged, repurposed for military uses, or converted into displaced people's shelters. Schools that are still functional lack trained educators. Teachers and students that remain in classrooms face significant challenges due to a lack of basic amenities and security in the surrounding area. Meanwhile, both Yemen's ministries of education are failing to deliver enough funds or assistance to the education sector. With famine-like conditions returning to the country for the first time in 2 years, food insecurity is anticipated to nearly triple in the next 6 months. This, along with forced displacement and rising unemployment, has caused financially challenged households to stop sending their children to school. Child marriage, recruitment, and labor have instead become the sole alternatives to produce revenue. Daily education is an important defense against such abuses and offers a safe environment for children to grow. However, it cannot work without teachers. In the early months of conflict, violence was the principal barrier impeding instructors from performing their jobs. Some teachers were killed or injured during airstrikes and armed conflicts, when their schools were caught in the crossfire. Those who protested the use of public finances for frontline combat were prosecuted, assaulted, or threatened. However, as the struggle dragged on, money became the main impediment for teachers. Over the past 5 years, thousands of qualified professionals have been driven away from their classrooms due to unpaid or partially paid salaries. Male professors have gone into construction, taxi or bus driving, or farming. And female instructors have turned to home-based jobs such as tailoring and baked items for sale. The remaining teachers are under intense pressure to resign. Externally funded initiatives give them short-term incentives such as food baskets, but the majority of direct support for teachers does not meet their basic requirements. Instead, many local communities have come up with creative methods such as volunteering and fundraising to assist teachers during this tough period. These initiatives, however, are unsustainable. They also differ widely from one area to the next, based on the security and socioeconomic status.
2 soldiers from the Giants forces were injured in an explosion in Lash. According to military sources, unknown people planted an explosive device on one of the military vehicles in an attempt to target a military leader. The sources added that the explosion resulted in the injury of 2 soldiers accompanying the military leader, and the military vehicle was completely burnt. The Yemeni government welcomed the adoption of the Work Program for least developed countries for the years 2022 till 2031. This came in the speech of Yemen's permanent representative to the UN, coinciding with the 77th session of the United Nations General Assembly in New York. The delegate stressed that Yemen faces major economic challenges, foremost of which are the effects of the war imposed by the Houthi militia. Local residents in Taiz called on the local authority to tackle the domestic gas crisis. The residents said that the crisis was fabricated by gas agents, adding that the absence of gas from the market doubled its price on the black market, where a cylinder is sold for 15,000 riyals. In view of the constant water shortage in Aden and Lahj governorates, Kuwait has started one of the biggest water projects in the area to help alleviate the suffering of the people. The following report gives more details.
In light of the suffering of citizens from the governorates of Aden and Lahj, from the continuous crises in the water services, the replacements of wells projects in Bir Nasser field implemented with the financing and support of Kuwait represents a strategic and sustainable project for the stability of water services in the two governorates and their continuity to overcome these crises. Water comes at the top needs of citizens, so it was necessary to have a large strategic project to ensure the sustainability of this service. This interrogated replacement of wells project north of the city of Aden operates with hybrid solar energy.
This is a strategic project. It's supported from the Communication Foundation for Development as they dig 4 wells and it generates through solar power.
This project covers a good percentage of the water services needs of the citizens of Aden and the surrounding suburbs of Lahj Governorate, especially in light of the current and future provision of the energy operating the wells.
Each pump makes about 20 liters each second, which is more than 17,000 cubic meters a day. This covers around 30 to 50% from the insufficient water.
The most prominent feature of this project is pre-planning, according to scientific studies, in addition to ensuring sustainability and the continuity of services in the future.
You have to keep a good pace of the production, as it produces more than 12,000 cubic meters in 1 hour, and this raises the production to reach as many people as possible.
Citizens needed these projects after having a huge water crisis and suffering from the continuous water problems as a result of the war conditions in the country that started 8 years ago.
The national campaign for immunization against coronavirus was launched in 12 liberated governorates. The campaign was started by the Ministry of Public Health and Population with the support of health sector partners. The 5-day campaign aims to reach 4,046,966 targets aged by 18 years and over, constituting 12% of the population of the liberated governorates. Here is a reminder of the main headlines. Yemen is set to hail the 60th anniversary of the 26th September revolution across the country. The United Nations, the US, and the Arab world double efforts to expand the truce in Yemen. Experts say that the new Iran nuclear deal can empower the Houthi militia. This is the end of the news. It was Roshan Fouad. See you soon.